Let's talk murder. Who doesn't love true crime, right? Okay, I got a good one for you. Janet Abaroa. She was born Janet Marie Christensen. She was raised in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is part of what struck my interest because I also was raised in this church. She attended Southern Virginia University, 7th of 10 siblings, big family. She played midfielder on the school's first NCAA soccer team. So, really, obviously, if she can play college sports, she's good. While she was at school, she met a guy named Janet Abaroa in 1998. They started dated for 2 years-ish, according to what I found. They got married in Washington, D.C. in the LDS Temple, August 2000. Right away, she started kind of having problems. Reportedly, she told her sister that Raven was abusive, that her marriage was in trouble, but they seem to have worked things out. They originally settled down in the western part of the state of Virginia, not West Virginia, but Virginia, the state's western part. And then eventually moved to North Carolina, where they had a job offer. They both worked at a sporting goods store. And in early 2005, so this was right after they had a baby. So 17th of October 2004, they had a son named Caden. And then early 2005, they were both fired from the sporting goods store. Raven had been embezzling money, total of over $9,000. And Janet getting fired was just kind of collateral damage. So for 2 months, they looked for jobs. Their landlord, his name was Peter Greijan, or Grayan, Greijan. Peter, however you say that. Peter G. Was giving them free rent for 2 months while they looked for jobs. Very, very generous of him. A week before her murder, Janet reportedly told Peter G. that they'd worked everything out. They had found good babysitter for Caden. They were going to be able to stay there. So, from the embezzlement, though, Raven did plead guilty to 5 counts of embezzlement, and he got 2 years of probation. Then, on the night of 26th of April 2005, it all went down. Raven came home from a soccer game at around 10:45 p.m. He found Janet kneeling on the floor, kind of like a child's pose yoga position. She'd been stabbed 3 times. He said he fell on the floor, collapsed, embraced her. But this is kind of suspicious because when he called 911, he said she's been shot or something. There's blood everywhere. But when the police got there, he didn't have much blood on his shirt, which is odd. In the autopsy, they found that she had been stabbed 3 times in her right hand, once in her chest, and once in her neck. Went down through an artery into her lung. And they also found out that she was pregnant with their second child. The police came, did a thorough sweep of the house, took tons of evidence samples, took the knives out of their kitchen and everything. Raven initially thought that it had been a break-in that resulted in her murder, because he said that his laptop and a knife that he had were missing. But later he found the knife in the house, at which point he said, "I can't believe you're investigating my wife's murder and you guys leave a knife at the crime scene." And luckily, Caden was unharmed in all of this. Caden was asleep in the next room, but was completely unharmed in all of this. So, suspects. Who did this? I came up with 4 possible options. So, least likely option is what's called a home teacher. This is something in the LDS church that they assign 2 people to come minister to you in your home, bring you gospel messages, help you with any service you need. My home teachers have been great and have helped us move pianos up and down stairs. Fantastic. They are great. Normally they come in pairs. Their home teacher had been there earlier that day, so before the soccer game on the 26th of April, 2005, but only one of them was there. They're supposed to come in pairs. So that's odd. Doesn't mean he killed her, but it's odd. Another potential suspect is the landlord, Peter G. Maybe he was fed up. Maybe he wanted his money. Who knows? There's motive, at least, and they thought it was a robbery gone wrong at first. Another potential is an ex-boyfriend that Janet had recently reconnected with. I didn't find a whole lot about this, but it was noted in one of the things I looked at. She'd been kind of emailing him and flirting with him. It was a college boyfriend from before she met Raven. So maybe he stopped by, thought there was a little bit more to it, and then when she rejected him, he killed her. But the most likely suspect that everybody pretty much agrees upon is Raven. He had the history of allegedly being abusive. He was not bloody when he said he'd collapsed on her and there was blood everywhere, but not. The detective that was investigating the case, Charles Soule, got a video from a convenience store that Raven had stopped out on his way home from the soccer game, and he was wearing a sweater in that video. But when the police arrived at his home, he was not wearing that sweater. So maybe that sweater had been all bloody. Who knows? But they didn't find the sweater. And the shirt that he was wearing didn't have very much blood on it. So again, that doesn't mean he killed her. It's just odd. Especially coupled with the alleged abuse that was going on. And according to statements her family has given, it was both physical and sexual abuse. They called him a sexual predator. So, not all that great. Raven left North Carolina and moved to Salt Lake City, Utah after Janet's death. And while he was in Salt Lake, he met a woman named Vanessa Pond. She was a single mom, and her child was at the same daycare as Caden. And they ended up dating and got married. But 4 months after their marriage, they had it annulled. And Vanessa said that he was abusive and that she believed he had killed Janet. So they had their marriage annulled. They separated. Vanessa stayed in Utah, and Raven left Utah and moved to Montpelier, Idaho, which is just not very far across the border into Idaho. Another thing that made him look suspicious, they had life insurance on Janet for $500,000. And even though they were unemployed, had no money, couldn't pay their rent, they were still making their payments for the life insurance on time. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Life insurance can be really cheap, like $10 a month. I think mine's like $12. It's not necessarily a big expense, and it's possible the church was helping them with their bills. Who knows? But the police thought it sounded suspicious. So they ended up they tried to get Raven to approve Janet to be exhumed so they could do another autopsy. He initially refused, but her family pressed for it, and they were eventually able to exhume her body. After they exhumed her body, they arrested Raven. That was February 1st, 2010, and he was charged with first-degree murder. He was extradited to North Carolina for the trial. So the first trial, they had over 80 witnesses and 500 pieces of evidence, and they tried to paint a picture that he had stabbed Janet, then left with Caden there, and then he went to go play soccer, and then he came home, and then called the cops. It ended in mistrial. One of the jury members said that they couldn't, beyond reasonable doubt, say that he was the one who did this. There's just not enough concrete evidence. It's all circumstantial, which it kind of is. There's no definite he did it. And also there was a fingerprint in their home office that didn't match either Janet or Raven, and they couldn't find who it belonged to. So maybe not him. So first trial ended in mistrial. So the second trial was scheduled for about a year later. And all this time, Raven is waiting in jail for the trial. I guess he couldn't make bail, or they thought it was a flight risk or something. I don't know. I couldn't find exactly what was going on there. Then 12th of March 2014, which is shortly before the second trial was supposed to start, Raven entered an Alford plea for voluntary manslaughter. And I didn't know what this was, this Alford plea, so I looked it up. According to the Herald Sun, in an Alford plea, a defendant maintains his innocence, but admits that the state has sufficient evidence to convict him and agrees to be treated as if he were guilty. Raven was sentenced 7 to 10 years and given credit for the 1,500 days, which is about 4 years, that he spent in jail waiting for the trial. He was released on 25th of December 2017, and the life insurance policy of $500,000 was paid out to Janet's mother, not to Raven, because you can't claim life insurance on someone that you've murdered. And Caden was put in care of his grandparents, Jim and Karen Bolton. Raven said after his sentencing, "I don't think it's worth risking the possibility of spending the rest of my life in prison for something I didn't do. I didn't kill my wife." So all this time, he maintains his innocence, but he was pretty sure they were going to convict him this time, so he figured the plea deal was his best option. And they did consult with Janet's family, and they're like, well, we don't want to go through the trial again, so maybe this is better. You can learn more at tearsforjanet.com. There's more information there than I could cover in a single video. But what do you think? Did Raven kill Janet? Or was it someone else? Was it one of the other suspects? Who knows? All very circumstantial. Not a whole lot there. I love true crime videos, and because I'm trying to do my YouTube actually make videos, I'm going to be trying to make 3 videos a week, one of which will be true crime, because that is something that just absolutely fascinates me. They're like weird, unsolved, unexplained kind of stuff. I grew up watching Unsolved Mysteries, and I'm completely obsessed with the podcast My Favorite Murder. Love it. It's great. Karen, Georgia, if you're watching this for inspiration, oh my gosh, I love you. Anyways, thank you for watching. Please like if you liked this video. Make sure you comment who you think killed Janet down below, and click the subscribe button if you'd like to see more. Thanks. Bye.